Let me ask you this. Former Vice President Mike Pence reemerged this week in South Carolina and made a point to praise his former boss despite everything that happened around the insurrection. Let's listen.
Thank you for the privilege of serving as your vice president and the privilege of serving alongside President Donald Trump. It's the greatest honor of my life.
Has he just forgotten that Trump, on the day of the riots, slammed him for lacking courage to dispute the election results? And that there were people in that pro-Trump crowd chanting this. Mr. Riggleman, how do you explain this?
It's politics. I don't know if I'd be as amicable, right? I don't think that I would be as forgiving. But I think that Vice President Pence is going to run for president in 2024. I think he needs those supporters. And I've been telling people that the politics of this are what get to me also. There's not an integrity thing here. It's whether you win or lose. And, you know, there was just a video with Lynn Woodgem. I don't know if you've seen that or not, where he doubled down on he still thought that Vice President Pence, you know, should face a firing squad, that there was case law to support that. And this video was only a couple days ago. So, again, that is still out there. It hasn't gotten better. And I'm just not sure why at some point you just don't step up and say, listen, you know, I'd like to be president. I want to run again. But what happened there was completely wrong. It wasn't the honor of my lifetime to be threatened while people stormed the Capitol, based on fantasy, by the way. I mean, there was nothing true about Stop the Steal or anything to that matter. But, you know, I just find it, again, amazing that
no, it was all a crock. It was all a crock.
Absolutely. And, you know, and now people are using election integrity as a cover for Stop the Steal. And I just find it amazing that you just can't come out and say, this was BS. And not only BS, but people died because of it. And I guess I feel like I'm the one taking crazy pills. Like I've become some fact-based pariah or a radical in the Republican Party because I just sort of look at data and say, this is the data. Here's what happened. Here's the people who did it. We had 7 white nationalist groups involved in this, 7 at a minimum. We know that. So at some point, we're just going to have to identify the people who are facts-based and those that are using fantasy to try to win elections. Again, that's very dangerous, Jim.
And President Biden struck a very optimistic tone about the United States in his address to Congress. Here was the reaction on Fox News afterward. Let's listen.
We don't have a revenue problem. We have a government spending problem. And Joe wants to make it far worse on human growth hormone and steroids, frankly. Joe Biden wants you to know that the healthcare system is broken. Well, you broke it, Joe. You have leftists, authoritarianism, statism, or freedom and capitalism. America, you will get to decide. We are at a crossroads.
That is certainly not the posture we're seeing from the hard right, people like Sean Hannity. I mean, how much does this kind of rhetoric that we hear night after night on Fox further divide the country, do you think?
Yeah, it does, because we can't even have a normal facts-based policy discussion between, say, center right and center left and where the country could go. You know, Jim, I could say, listen, you know, the words election integrity, they seem innocuous. But what happens is they take these innocuous words and they put new definitions on them, like Stop the Steal. They try to wrap other things around them. And that's the issue that you have right now. We can say the crazies and party specific, but I've said before, the far right is sort of in a hold my beer moment. And when you're always using hyperbolic words or you're always going back to things that aren't true, how do we even have a normal discussion? I think the real separation in the country is now we have a party that doesn't have credibility to have these discussions on a policy-based way. There are things I disagree with in President Biden's spending plans. People know that about me. I'm a fiscal conservative. But what I don't get is that we can't have a policy discussion. We automatically go to, and you said at the beginning of the program, we automatically go back to memes like Kamala Harris in books or some kind of bizarre meat ban. And instead of looking at policy and things like that, you know, we sort of have the idiot savants of the far right world running around and screaming into popcorn boxes, and people are believing them. And that's the issue that I have, is we got to stop that. Enough. And again, I'm going to try, but right now, as you know, there is a segment of the Republican Party that's trying to stop it, but we haven't been very successful to this point.